so that we can then understand that, now get this part, is that there's a marvelous and wonderful shift to a universal nature. And we need that first personality to contain who we are to become, which is an I am that is the universe, the cosmos, nature. It's part of the Creator, part of God. That was his or her intention, is to create you as part of. And of course, why do it? Love. The same reason as everything else, the same reason you're watching, learning, thinking, and looking at changing your energy and your consciousness towards understanding a new reality. We all need to embark on an essential awakening process. This we all know by now. We need to have a paradigm shift. In other words, a shift in perception, thought, feeling, and most certainly action and behavior. And then, of course, consequence of how we experience the world. And how we experience the world, if we're not spiritually awake, if we're not awakening our contemplative intelligence, our prefrontal creative cortex, we tend to be in an ancient lizard monkey mind. We call this journey the journey from personality back to spirituality. And what does that mean? Simple. Spirituality simply means you can look inside without having to activate your masks of personality, your victim positions, your fear, and your codependence. So, for example, how we experience life is completely different from one person to another. Come on, so this journey that we're all on, surely we know this by now, sort of mid-2024, 25, coming on, we know that something is going on. Science, religion, the East, the West, the North and the South, all agree, very lightly, but they at least agree, that something is going on. And indeed so, we are transforming, we are becoming more conscious, and from an individual consciousness, we then connect collectively. So without losing anybody, to explain the journey from personality to spirituality, understand that how one person experiences life is not how another can experience it, which is indeed a revelation on its own, because if we change our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, we get to experience another world, which is a mystery. It's a miracle. It's marvelous. So how I sit with my personality and experience time, how I experience space, matter in this room, is one way. My personality uses 5 senses, just 5, to experience the entire universe. And as a child, those 5 are enough for us to deal with. They're a lot. We experience what we see, for example, in this room. What we feel, feeling the chair, feeling the body itself, and feeling matter. What we taste, what we hear, is how we get to experience this room. And indeed, if that's the way I'm experiencing this room over time, it's going to be mundane, boring, and I'm going to be stuck in certainty, craving a need for uncertainty or adventure to get out of this room. So life really has my back and it's pulling me along. Experiencing the world with a lizard brain, a mammalian brain, a brain that has its primal needs based in survival and certainty is fine. I always say there's no wrong way to live a life. And when you get it, you get it. But indeed, as we grow, as more knowledge comes available, as we dive deeper into self, we become more wise. We become collectively more and more conscious. And we understand that, of course, who I am is not based in the 5 senses. It's not based in time, space, matter. It's based in something more. So when I say I am Mark, the I am is recognizing the personality, which is Mark. That's the name, the title, the story of getting from A to B, which has put me into this space right now, and you into the space you are in right now. A whole bunch of responses that we've had to the effects, consequences, and situations that life has given us. So that's who we become after a certain amount of time. That's who we become after we become conscious to a certain degree. And then, because the need of the spirit or the I am is so great and so powerful and so focused, we want to know eventually who I am really is. And I am, of course, is experiencing things beyond the five sensory, beyond the multisensory. It is experiencing the extrasensory. In other words, I now sit and I experience space and time, understanding if I'm late for a meeting, if I'm thinking the day is over, if I'm thinking I need to be somewhere or go somewhere or do something, and that is my only story, then I've lost the concept of who I am. Remember, God said at the burning bush, I am, when he was asked his name. And this is what we mean about the divine imago Dei inside of us. Nothing can stop the journey. Even you can try and block it, pretend it's not really there. You can stand on it, bend it, try and break it. But we can never stop the unfolding of the process of a conscious awakening, of who we really are as an extrasensory being, capable of anything we can put our minds to. So being extrasensory means that I understand I have intuition leading the way. I can set an intention and see that intention through the law of attraction as it really is, often misunderstood, see my intentions unfold because I'm in touch with the extrasensory side of who I really am as a sacred divine being. So essentially, a good way to start waking up is realizing that there's two of everything. There's a paradox going on here. There's day and night, light and dark, tall and short, strong and weak, and on we could go forever, right? But this is the story of the universe, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story. And of course, we're part of that story, and we're experiencing the same paradox. I know I can do X, Y, Z. I know I'm capable of. I know I could be, but I am not. And that's the struggle to shift, paradigm shift from A to B. So how we do that is based completely in science. For example, we can look at our brain. Your brain is going to experience whatever is happening in its environment through the five senses. And in response to that, your brain is going to send out oxytocin, it's going to send out dopamine, it's going to send out serotonin, it's going to send out whatever it can to the body to signal its interpretation of the environment. So understand whatever is happening in that environment is processed through your brain. It's then felt and processed through the five senses and becomes an experience that the body can actually feel as its reality. But of course, what is the overcoming? What is the awakening? What is the transformation? Well, transforming is going beyond form. It's simple. So the personality is the formed, very much so, the formed masks. We are not formed, but formless. Of course, we are spiritual by nature. The personality is the formed, and the spirituality is, of course, the formless. And that's the journey. But to get from the formed to the formless is going to take practice, and it's available to absolutely everybody. Although it's science, it's not necessarily rocket science. It must be available to everyone in the Amazon. It must be available to people who have the means of connecting to the web and people who don't. So you're going to get it from all the knowledge in the world online, or you're going to get it from sitting next to a river. You're going to get it from a church. You're going to get it from whatever experiences that you find in the world that lead you to a sacred self-awakening. So at some point, this personality gets trapped, and it gets trapped through stress, through all of those dopamines and serotonins and adrenals. We're going to get trapped. We're going to get hooked and locked into stress, into depression, anxiety, and even worse, into a disordered personality, one that could be filled with fear, anger, resentment, bitterness, and that's how we can almost live and die in terms of the story of our lives. So waking up from that hell is the new earth, is the heaven on earth that we need to really, really strive to seek. And how we seek that is through practice, through stillness, through going from form and disconnecting with it, through creating some sort of gaps and breaks. I call it STOP, stopping the way the brain has done itself, has done its story the day before. You move into stillness through meditation. Very seldom people do an hour's walking meditation with us and come out the same. Now, an hour in one's life compared to a 20, 30 years story is very little. It's a small sacrifice to make in terms of making the journey to the miraculous, to the unknown, and to this formless or spiritual self. So we get there. You can't get there from here. We get there through stillness, through meditation, through contemplative intelligence practices, through stillness of the body, of the brain waves, heart rate variabilities, from beta to alpha waves, from delta to theta waves in the brain. We get there through taking command of the mothership. Looking at the personality can also be like this. If Captain Kirk is driving the Starship Enterprise, which is the personality, who then is driving Captain Kirk? And that is the I am, the formless, the extrasensory sacred self that we all have inside, which is the journey not only to wellness, happiness, peace, reality, consciousness, and bliss. It's the pathway, the necessary pathway to heaven, to light, to love, to adventure, to purposeful, meaningful action. If we look at our history and we look at our wars, most of it has really been senseless. I mean, come on. People who are actually engaging in wars now as we head towards 2024, 2025 is mindless. It is primitive, it's mammalian, it's a lizard could do better and does do better, thinking that you're going to drop bombs on a country or a town of people and expecting to find peace under that is insane. And this is the insanity that the personality experiences and becomes frightened of in the world. But that's not really what's going on. Those incidents are becoming more and more isolated as more and more people wake up to the consciousness of, I'm not my environment. I don't need to bomb that land and take it. It's not mine. It's ours. And something so simple as ending that non-duality, that egoic grabbing of land, grabbing of money as mine, which personality wants to feel safe. Of course, it never works. Can be replaced by a spiritual awakening experience. A spiritual awakening is born and bred in love, in peace, in gratitude, and of course, in the marvelous and the miraculous. Life is nothing short of marvelous and miraculous. So if you're experiencing life as despair, as mundane, you're probably locked in a frightened personality, and you need to move towards changing and shifting your energy through a paradigm shift by going into stillness, going within, and creating something formless, because energy is formless, of course. This body that the personality is perceiving as Mark, as you, is actually formless. This body is full of particles that are moving at the speed of light. So the formed is not really happening. It is just allowing us to experience our thoughts, perceptions, and feelings in concrete form as matter, so that we can then understand that, now get this part, is that there's a marvelous and wonderful shift to a universal nature. And we need that first personality to contain who we are to become, which is an I am that is the universe, the cosmos, nature, It's part of the Creator, part of God. That was his or her intention, is to create you as part of. And of course, why do it? Love. The same reason as everything else, the same reason you're watching, learning, thinking, and looking at changing your energy and your consciousness towards understanding a new reality, as Carl Jung said, is the second half of life experience that we all need to find. So good luck with the journey. It is available to everybody, and all it takes to begin is awareness and acceptance of this duality, this paradox that we're in, of happy and sad, and then to go in and create massive, massive action based not in fear this time, but love. In this way, we will heal the self, the other, and the entire world. And that's the marvelous story that is happening now. And we are all part of that story.